Hello and welcome to the LittleBee Knitting, Spinning and Crochet podcast. This is episode 11. My name is Kirsty. If you are a regular viewer, it's been a while since you've last seen me. It's been roughly a month, if not longer. If you're a new viewer, welcome. You've not really missed much, to be honest. So first, to get out of the way, the places you can find me, I'm on Instagram as LittleBee Kirsty. I am on Ravelry as Little-B. And you've no doubt found this on YouTube because I don't really post anywhere else. So my YouTube is just LittleBee Kirsty, no, LittleBee Podcast, and that's roughly where you can find me. So it has been a while. It's been roughly a month, as I said a wee bit earlier. Basically, just a lot of stuff's got in the way. Busy weekends, poor health, work, boyfriend, family, that kind of thing has all got in the way. I say in the way. That's not right. That sounds pure harsh, but basically all that stuff took a wee bit more priority over the podcast. So we're going to start off with a quick overview of the knit along that's going along at the moment. It's being co-hosted by myself and David from This Boy, and who is from Dundee, so he is a fellow Scottish podcaster. So if you go onto the Ravelry page on my forum, the LittleBee podcast forum, you will see two posts on there that are dedicated to the sci-fi along, as I'm calling it. So what it was is it started on July the 1st and it's going to end on September 30th. So even if you didn't start in July, you can start whenever you want. I'm calling it the sci-fi along because it's a knit along, crochet along and general craft along. So I'm just calling it the sci-fi along. Basically you can make anything that you feel is sci-fi related. So for example, Star Trek, Star Wars, Stargate, there's a lot of star in there. Anything that you feel is sci-fi related at all, and you can justify it as being sci-fi related, you can enter into this cow. You can enter as many objects as you want throughout the month, well, 3 months, and each thing you make is going to be a separate entry, so please list them separately on the finished items tab. David's got some prizes, I'm going to be throwing in some prizes, and we're going to join together to pick a few winners. Actually, there's not going to be just one winner, there's going to be quite a few winners. So if you feel up to that, again, it's knitting, crochet and sewing or any other craft as long as it's sci-fi related. So now that that's out the way, I can go on to everything else basically. So what's been going on in my life, basically work, and then my best mate had a little girl, so she had a little girl and her name is Lucy, and she is honestly the most adorable girl you've ever seen in your entire life. She makes me smile and I can't wait to spend more time with her. And then I got a wee bit poorly. I got sick a couple of weeks ago, and then I actually was in hospital last week and had a wee emergency operation on a lump they found under my arm. So still healing, got a bit of a plaster bandage thing going on under there at the moment. I just want to be able to shower properly. I can't get that part of my arm wet. I want to be able to do my weights and my workouts again. I just want to be able to use proper deodorant as well, because I'm not allowed to put anything with chemicals on it. It's just been a big giant pain in the butt, to be honest, and it's not going to be healed for another week. Basically it's an open wound. They didn't put stitches on it at all, as everyone seems to have assumed they have done. They haven't, they just left it open. My boyfriend and I have had to cancel our plans for our holidays next week. We were meant to be going to Alton Towers. That's no longer happening because my arm won't be healed enough and I could do some damage if I knocked it or bumped it wrong on a ride. So that's a bit of a bummer, but oh well. And then yesterday my boyfriend decided to scare the living daylights out of me by being admitted into A&E himself with chest problems. Thankfully Scott is now home. Been told to rest up, take it easy, possibly a viral infection. Basically we're going to keep an eye on it. So it's been a rocky month. but there's been some good in there. So to actually kickstart the knitting point of this podcast, crochet point of this podcast as well, I'm going to go on to my first finished object, which I'm really proud of. If anyone's been following me on Instagram, they will have seen this already, and if anyone has been following the finished objects thread of the sci-fi along, you will also have seen this already. I'm just going to neaten up the loose bits of yarn. Yeah, I've not sewn in the end yet. So I kind of knew straight away for the sci-fi along what I wanted to make, and I left it too late to order the wool. So the sci-fi along had started and I hadn't ordered the wool yet, so I ordered the wool I think the day the sci-fi along started and needed something else to pick up. So I decided that with the project I wanted to make, I needed to practice double knitting because I'd never done it before in my life. So I made this. Now, for any of you out there that aren't quite sure what this is of course the Star Trek logo. I'm pretty sure it's Next Generation. I am still learning when it comes to Star Trek. I am working my way through what episodes there are on Netflix. Sorry, love the fact it's back on Netflix. I got rid of my Netflix because they got rid of Star Trek. So I made that, and I have a rough idea what I'm going to actually make with this, because it's one square. Like that's the back side of it. So that's the actual side that you would look at, because this is how the logo would look if you had it. You actually had the badge. So I'm considering finding other double knitting patterns or making my own double knitting patterns, and I'm actually just going to make random squares like throughout the rest of the year and into next year if I have to, and I'm going to stitch them all together and I'm going to make a big blanket, because otherwise I just have a random square. So the pattern itself is free on Ravelry, and it's meant to be a pot holder, and it's meant to be made on cotton, and I didn't have cotton because I don't really like cotton, and I made it out of acrylic. It's really soft, it's really squishy, I know it will keep me warm in winter. And so I've just decided to make the rest in acrylic and not consider them at all to be a pot holder, and just make a huge selection, whether it's Harry Potter themed, Star Wars, Star Trek, Stargate, Futurama, The Simpsons for all I care, like just things that I like Game of Thrones. Actually, I could probably make like a dire wolf or something as well. And I'm just going to stitch them all together and make a big throw. Yeah, so that's going to take a while to complete, but it will totally be worth it. Moving on next, where's the next one? So that was my first finished item for the sci-fi along, and these are my second favourite. Second finished and favourite out of them. So I made the Hail Hydra mitts. There we go. Let's see if I can zoom in on the colour. It's a lot more purple than it's showing up on the screen for my camera, but this could turn out totally different online. So there's a bit of blue, a wee bit of green, some purple. Yeah, blue, green, purple. Not so much red. I really love the way they've turned out. The only thing I'm not too happy with is the cuff up the top. The Latvian braid has started to curl, and it hasn't done that on the cast on edge. So on the cast off edge it has curled outwards, so I'm just going to try and maybe block that, or at least sit it under a really heavy book for a week or so. But I guess once I wear them they'll just curl anyway. So there are two, for anyone that doubts me. These really got done when I was in the hospital waiting to go up for my surgery, and I really just needed something to take my mind off the impending going under the general anaesthetic. And so I worked so hard on these, and then the couple of days after that when I was recuperating, the joy of being able to knit is you don't have to move this part of your arm depending on how you knit. So I could just rest the wound on my, like, in my arm, and then just use this quite freely, because I mean, you can see I am moving my hand and I am not moving this part of my arm, so I was still able to knit, thankfully, and was able to complete the mittens whilst I was off and recovering. And before I had actually gone to the hospital, I was working on them in work during my lunch break once, and one of the girls was like, "Oh my god, what are you making?" So I showed her, and she said that they look really good, and then I was like, "Oh, they're the Hail Hydra mitts," and she was like, "What?" She hadn't even noticed on the pattern and the design that it was for Hail Hydra, which is of course Marvel, and if you're a geek like me, you love Marvel, and you're maybe not Hail Hydra, you may be Team Cap, come on, like of course you would be. So she wasn't too enthused at the Hydra part of it, but in general she really loved these, so I'm whipping up a second pair and I'll see if she wants them. And so that's currently one of my works in progress, but what's really kind of slowing me down this time around, and I will see if I can compare. So here's two cuffs, so you can see the white here taking the shape was now actually the colour here. So the white is the triangle, but the colour is the triangle, so I've inverted which way the yarns get used, and the pattern itself has white and orange squares. So for this one, the white is what is the white on the pattern and the colour is what is the orange on the pattern. So I've now inverted it and I am getting mighty confused. I've had to rip back at least, I've had to rip back at least 2 or 3 rows and just seriously sit down and look at the colour and just remember that I have inverted the colour. So what is white on the pattern is actually my coloured yarn, and what is orange on the pattern is actually my white yarn. And it is boggling my brain if I have not had caffeine or enough sleep, and I'm just struggling. It's going to take me a while to get that one done. So that's one of my works in progress. My other work in progress, let's see if I can get the front page of the pattern. The Hail Hydra mitts, by the way, are free on Ravelry if anyone would like to try them. I totally recommend the pattern, even if you're not very good or very experienced at colour work. It's very simple. I managed to fly through it, and that was only my second colour work project. So my first colour work project was my Star Wars hat, that was a few episodes ago, and the Hail Hydra mitts are my second colour work project, and I love them. I knew from my Star Wars project that I needed to be a lot looser with my gauge. I'm a very tight knitter, so I had to learn to loosen again, and then I also had to remember to anchor my yarn every couple of stitches. So for example, there's one row that is 3 coloured, 3 white, 3 coloured, 3 white, and it's that the whole way along the row. So I would do 2 stitches, anchor, do my next stitch, and then change the colour, 2 stitches, anchor the yarn, last stitch, and so on and so forth. And if you're not really sure what that means, I don't know if it's the right terminology, but it's just how I describe it. So instead of having huge floats, I would have smaller floats anchored into the next stitch, and then I can change yarn really easily. It also seems to stop gaps in the knitting, which was really frustrating when I was doing my first Star Wars hat. Well, actually no, technically that's my third colour work project, because I made 2 Star Wars hats, because the first one was too small. So anyway, I am rambling. My second work in progress is the Dragon Wing Cowl. This is also free on Ravelry. The first part of the pattern is really tedious. You have to knit 116 rows of, I get this confused, garter stitch. 116 rows of garter stitch, and I just got so bored, but I managed to rattle through it really quickly, and I'm now on to the increases. So I'm making a lovely red yarn. Let's see if I can do this without dropping anything. So you can see it is variegated. There is a change in colour, very nice change in colour, and you can see that I'm onto the increases. I'm not pulling that out, that is how this is going. And so this part would be the bit that goes behind your neck, and then this is the start of the actual wing that will spread across. So that should be finished maybe by the next time I podcast, and considering that is no longer every 2 weeks, it will definitely be finished in a month. Not that I'm saying my next podcast is going to be in a month, it's just whenever I can actually get to podcast. So, second whip out the way. Third whip is what I've always wanted to make for the sci-fi along, and it is of course the lovely double knitting Star Wars scarf. Just going to see if I can find it on Ravelry very quickly. The joy of actually turning my laptop on. Oh, that's not how you spell wars. This is also why you drink caffeine in the morning, people. Yeah, so it's just Star Wars double knit scarf. There's no actual pattern, it is just charts. So if you're not a chart person, it could be a wee bit tricky. And I am literally that far in. That's it. That is all. That's all I have. I cast on, and then realised I hadn't anchored my stitches at the side, and by that I mean your last stitch should always be knit your 2 stitches together. And so I'd got about that far up and then realised that there's a hole the entire way along my knitting, and I could stick something through it and it would fall out the other side because I hadn't knit the 2 end stitches together. So I had to rip that back out and start again. And then 4 times in a row I fudged up my cast on, and I did say fudge as in the fudge you can eat. So I fudged up my cast on about 4 times in a row, and then called it a night because it was literally about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. My eyes were crossing, I was falling asleep, and it was just not going well at all. And then I tried to cast on the next day, and in the middle of casting on I got a phone call, so obviously just put down my knitting completely. The cast on fell off because it's not a secure cast on, it's the invisible cast on. And went and had my dinner, gave up, didn't even look at it, and then came back with a clear mind and sat down and cast on all my stitches. Remember to knit the 2 stitches at the ends, and we are on a flying start. But this is a project that will probably not leave the house. It will probably just be a project for when I get home from work or at the weekend, so on and so forth. And these are my 2 yarns. This yarn I got off of Knit Picks, and it is Bare Imagination. Let's see, rustle. I originally got 2 yarns from Knit Picks for this project, and together I absolutely hated the combination. They are both fuzzy yarns, so it was it was just fuzzy completely, and the stitches were getting kind of mangled together, and I'm still not 100% sure if I like the combination I have now, because the Bare Imagination is fuzzy because it has alpaca. So it's 50% merino wool, 25% superfine alpaca and 25% nylon. It's 100 grams, it's fingering weight, and it's 438 yards. So that's the tag. Knit Picks, Imagination and Bare. So it's an undyed yarn, and I have a huge bone to pick with people in Scotland. Why do we not have wool shops that sell proper wool that is undyed? Because it was a nightmare trying to find a substitute, because I loved the coloured yarn I got. I got the Knit Picks Chroma, which is that one, which is these gorgeous colours. There is pink in there somewhere, yep, in there, some yellow, some green, some blue, and that would have looked amazing because it's a transitioning yarn. So the colours would have looked absolutely amazing on that scarf, and I'm still going to use that eventually and make a second Star Wars double knit scarf, because I think the colours would look absolutely amazing. But I need a less fuzzy, undyed, fingering weight yarn. Can't find one. I have to order it online. There are no wool shops in Scotland that do this, and it drives me up the wall. Or at least there's no wool shops in Scotland anywhere near me. That's the hassle. I love to be able to pick up the yarn, see how fuzzy it is, and know how thick it actually is. I cannot be the only person that has picked up a yarn and the ball band says DK or sport weight, and you're like, no it's not, that's more like a 4-ply. Biggest pet peeve when it comes to knitting, that and badly written patterns. But yeah, moving on from what annoys me, I am enjoying making this. It is a slow progress knit. It's going to take me probably longer than the sci-fi along is actually set up, but David and I have always said from the beginning, if need be, we can extend it. And I already have two projects that I can enter in. Not that I will win a prize, that's just given. I'm the one I'm not the one running it, but I'm one of the people that have started it, so we don't get to enter for prizes. So I will continue with that, but it's definitely something that I can really not do outside the house. So that is technically my last whip. I have picked back up my crochet blanket, which has been discarded for several months now, and I've been working on that a lot whilst I was off because it was just so much easier. Also keeps you really warm. Like, I love knitting blankets. Excuse me. And for anyone remotely curious, this is a Tunnocks tea cake. Very well known in Scotland, if not definitely Glasgow. One of my favourite mugs, because you cannot not love a Tunnocks tea cake. It's a given. It's an absolute given. It's literally biscuit, huge chunk of marshmallow, and then the whole thing is covered in chocolate. What's not to love? And I'm just drinking tea, like Builder's Brew kind of tea. For anyone that doesn't really know what a Builder's Brew is, it's just basically a really strong cup of tea. Trying to think if there's anything else. Apart from like all the messed up stuff that's been going on in my life and all the knitting I've done, I've not really got much else to report on. I will be trying to pick up the podcast a lot more often than I have been, literally just because the weekends are the only time I get to see Scott, and I've been trying to do more overtime and work, then I got sick, and so on and so forth. I will pick up on the, what was I calling it again? The mini skivway. I will be picking back up on that on the next episode. I know I said I'd do it this episode, but I just don't have the energy to try and get to the post office. I hope you all understand, and I'm sorry it's been a while since I last podcasted. Again, I hope you all understand. But I'm going to try and get back on top of this because I kind of missed the podcasting world, but at the same point I've enjoyed being away from it. I've not really been watching all the podcasts I used to watch. All my favourites really aren't my favourites anymore. I enjoy watching all my Scottish podcasting friends, like Helen and David and Ruth, and Charlotte's been taking a wee bit of a hiatus from it. Hopefully she'll come back, and I don't know, my perspective on things has just changed recently, and I just can't be bothered with it. I don't do this to be sent stuff. I've never been sent anything in the post. I am expecting one thing from Leslie, and it's just her being very generous. But I don't do this for people to send me anything. I'll repeat, I've never been sent anything in the post. Any prizes I give away is out of my own pocket. Any postage is also out of my own pocket. I don't do this to get a huge amount of fans or anything. I'm not doing this to boost my ego. And I genuinely feel that there are some podcasters out there that do that for all of those things. They do it to be sent free things. They do it to boost their ego. They do it to say they've got the biggest number of subscribers. Right now, I'm not even going to bother looking at my YouTube to tell you how many subscribers I have, and I don't even know off the top of my head how many I have, because I've just I don't care about that. I do this because it's something I love, and I do it because I think it also inspires other people to pick up the needles if they've had a bit of a downtime or they've lost their knitting mojo, and it's just a way to express myself. I don't do it for any sort of gain at all. So on that note, because I've probably annoyed a couple of people, but hey ho, opinions are opinions. I'm going to leave it there because I have so much to do today. I need to get to the bank, taking my dad out for coffee, and then I'm going to look after poorly Scott because he did just get out of A&E last night. If anyone wants to contact me, I'll repeat where you can find me again. I'm on Ravelry as Little-Bee. I'm on Instagram as LittleBee Kirsty, and on the Ravelry there is a forum that's just LittleBee Podcast, and I only post my videos on YouTube, so if you found me on there, you know exactly where I am. I hope you all have an amazing knitting weeks, or month, because I don't know when I will next podcast. Again, I am going to try and get it more regular. But until then, I hope you all have a lovely time. Happy knitting, crochet, spinning, sewing, and any other craft. See you later. Bye.